Hello and welcome to the November 9th episode of Beacon Web News. I'm Dan Wohler. Yesterday, November 8th, was Election Day, which completed this extremely long and unusual presidential election cycle. Campaigning began 596 days ago and originally involved 22 major party candidates. Your votes have been cast, ballots counted, and finally, the wait is over. Shockingly, Donald Trump will become the 45th President of the United States and Mike Pence as the 48th Vice President. Trump will be the oldest person to serve as president. Specifically, on the ballots here in Massachusetts were 4 referendum questions. Question 1 decided the State Gaming Commission would not be allowed to issue an additional slot parlor license. Question 2 decided that the Board of Education is not allowed to approve 12 new charter schools or enrollment expansions in current charter schools. Question 3 decided that farm products from animals raised in spaces that do not meet a minimum size requirement would be prohibited. And question 4 legalized the possession, use, distribution, and cultivation of marijuana for persons aged 21 and older. Renowned political commentator for both ABC News and NPR, Cokie Roberts, traveled to MCLA this past Thursday, November 3rd, to provide her unique analysis on this current presidential election cycle. Roberts had the chance to sit down with students for a question and answer session and later joined us right here in MCLA's TV studio for an interview with Assistant Professor of Political Science, Dr. Samantha Petty. At 7 p.m., Roberts delivered a lecture to a packed crowd in the Amsler Campus Center gym, and I attended the event to determine what resonated most with MCLA's community about her lecture. President Burge attended the lecture and appreciated Roberts' explanation of how MCLA students focus on writing, thinking critically, and analyzing and synthesizing information.
Because we've known throughout history that graduates from liberal arts schools do very well. They stay employed during downturns in the economy. They're able to be nimble enough to move into different job careers. So I think that her message there was really important. It's consistent with what we know from history.
SGA President Tim Williams was wowed by Roberts' comment on how the governed choose who will govern them best, and the existence of this ideal is what makes the American democratic experiment work.
Well, one thing that kind of blew my mind with what she said was our government is based off of the consent of the governed, which I really think is really important, that we go out and actually give our consent into this government, whether we support the ideas of President Obama or we want a new kind of chapter with the Republican Party and Donald Trump.
Amber Coombe elaborated on how people vote based on their congressional districts and how this can be problematic.
I liked what she was talking about with the gerrymandering that's happening, because that's statistically become a serious problem in today's day and age, with computer analysis and things like that are actually having a higher influence on elections than most people can understand, because how many people actually understand statistical analysis? Not many. So I think by highlighting that, she really opened a different conversation that's not necessarily being had.
Jacob Valenti was intrigued by Roberts' description of the current hostility in the halls of Congress.
Specifically, her talking about the way that Republicans and Democrats in the past would work together as two separate parties. They would argue their points, but at the end of the day be working towards the same goal. And I found it very interesting how she spoke about how that is not the same case today, but how in the future it may be an option.
Executive Vice President Denise Ricciardello enjoyed how Roberts highlighted the features of MCLA's liberal arts focus.
And I just was so taken back by just her poignant and very, just realistic take on the election. And it just was wonderful for her to, first of all, recognize our students, recognize the value of MCLA and how we're educating students like you in a liberal arts environment to contribute back to the community. And I just think it was just perfect timing for her to be here.
Morrison Robley acknowledged Roberts' long career in politics and her factual account of the current political landscape.
Yeah, I really appreciated she laid out the facts of the current political landscape. She talked about what it was in the past and how, as she talked about it, it wasn't pessimistic. It was, these are the facts, and politics in the future are going to change, and that's what makes it interesting.
President Burge reiterated the idea that voters are the answer to end heavy polarization in politics, and that voting can contribute to both parties working together.
One of the things that I think she said that was really instructive for us is that if we want Congress to function differently. We, as the electorate, have to function differently. We have to put people into office that are going to be more collegial, focused on getting work done, focused on the best outcomes for the country. If we want that as a nation, then we'll have it in our Congress. But if we want that in Congress, we have to want that together.
This past Friday, October 28th, the vacant Sullivan Elementary School in North Adams hosted an active shooter drill where 15 different agencies came together for the exercise. Beacon Web News had exclusive rights to film this drill, and our own Sam Niskern was there inside the school.
This is Samantha Niskern for Beacon Web News, and today we are at the closed-down Sullivan School for a mock active shooter drill. North Adams EMS Chief John Meany explained the purpose of the mock drill in regards to training first responders.
Today, what we're doing is really working on warm zone operations during an active shooter situation. We've been working on this for several months, and this is just another piece to our training. So hopefully everything goes well. Crews have been training pretty hard, so we'll see how it goes.
Amalia Giacino, the exercise director of the event, spoke about the necessity of working with multiple groups to make the drill possible.
I'm the exercise coordinator director for an active shooter drill that we're doing today that is to take place in a school setting. So we're working with multiple agencies across the county to perform this training, obviously a simulation of how we would treat patients in an active shooter incident with fire and police and EMS all working together.
MCLA students had the chance to be involved. Senior Jade Terrace participated in the exercise.
I was an unresponsive, unbleeding victim of the shooting, and I got carried out on a stretcher, and that was really intense.
Steve Moranti talked about the success of the drill for law enforcement, EMS, and other first responders.
The event went very well. Our role is basically to work with EMS to extract the victims after areas have been cleared, and it went very well. Everybody worked great together with law enforcement, police, and fire.
This was truly an intense day for all that were involved. For Beacon Web News, this has been Samantha Niskern.
And we actually have Sam Niskern on the phone right now with us. So Sam, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Sam, you described the event as being very intense. Could you go into further detail about what it was like being there?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there were gunshots. I mean, they were blank rounds, but there were still real guns with gunshots. They had a fog machine that was emitting smoke, so you really couldn't see down the hallways. All the actors were covered in this very realistic fake blood and fake gore that was done by a special effects team. People were screaming, the lights were out. It just was a very intense and very heavy, dramatic, realistic environment.
And Sam, an event like this it must take an immense amount of preparation. Could you explain the planning that went into this event?
Right. Well, this was actually funded through a grant with Homeland Security, and it took several months of planning. Police, fire, EMS, countless agencies came into it, and actually on the day of the event, Amalia Giacino got there at 5 a.m. to start setting up. So this definitely took months of preparation and planning.
Wow, and a motto that the agencies kept saying that day was to over-prepare but underutilize the strategies that they were using. What is it like to face the tragic reality that local agencies and schools and cities and towns need to be prepared and educated on how to deal with situations like this?
You know, it's scary, but it's real. The threat is there, and so often, towns and cities will wait until after a tragic event to start this training, which is why this mock shooter drill was such an important thing, because it's better to be able to stop something from happening than start the training after it's already too late and lives have been lost.
Right. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having your opinion on the topic.
Thank you, Dan.
Tonight, Wednesday, November 9th, is the annual student versus faculty and staff basketball game hosted by RPS in Venable Gym. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. and the game begins at 7. Students are encouraged to bring canned goods for a chance to win a gift basket. Next Tuesday, November 15th at 1 p.m. is the third and final session for the English Communications Internship and Career Workshop. The session will focus on polishing your written materials and will take place in the Writing Studio, room 120 in Murdoch Hall. And a fresh crop of students have been selected for the second annual Trailblazer Cook-Off, which will take place next semester. And remember, you can stay up to date with everything MCLA has to offer by following its social media pages. And that's the news for this week from all of us here at BWN. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next Wednesday.